ka ikwuo maka ndị Igbo, ka ihe mere anyị ji bụrụ ndị Igbo, ka ihe mere bụ na onye bụ onye Igbo ọ na-eko, ọ na-atọ ya na ọ bụ onye Igbo, wetago ndị na-abụrụ ndị Igbo a na-ewish nna I wish I am Igbo, I wish what makes us Igbo that ebe ọbụla anyị bata wetago a ga-ama na anyị bata ebe ọbụla anyị bata ụfọdụ ndị anya ụfụ a na-achọ ka egbuo anyị ka ememina anyị ọgụ dara ọ bụgoro na ọ gbasara onye Igbo onye Igbo bụ ihe ga-ebuni ya wetago na kedu ihe melu Igbo ji wee bụrụ Igbo gaa n'iru.
I think ndị Igbo, we are a special people. And I'm a queer and I'm born Igbo. I want to be an Igbo person and an Igbo woman in particular, right? I'm wearing one thing that has helped us, and I wish that we can leverage more of it. It is that the average Igbo believe get that this problem, I can solve it. Some people say we want to solve it with money, but for the average Igbo person, it speaks to the fact that we are egalitarian by nature. When how in feudal way, in the special people that type of ranking. If you notice, even in neighborhoods in Nigeria, Igbo communities, a hut, a whole mansion, a whole 5-story building, they need to renovate. All of those things, name exist in real time, and that allows Igbo people to dream differently.
Yes.
It means that in Japan, I can be like Obaino. In Japan, I can be like. There were always role models that you can, even if you didn't have them in your family, that you can model your way. And I think another reason also, if you look at the way that we existed before the amalgamation, you will notice that even if you don't like an Igbo person, Igbo get many this business. Igbo people have this thing of Agacha must come back. You must hire me for this thing. And Flora Shaw actually explains it in her book, right? The Tropical Dependency, the book she wrote in 1912 before the amalgamation. About men being able to go one deep to Wausa, those administrative work that require them to be able to read and write in English. So Igbo people are also adaptable. What that means is that it's winter now, okay? If you go to Antarctica, that is one of the coldest places on earth, on a chamat there. Other than make business. One person from Imo State that is telling you he's doing 10 degrees, and he's going to get his PhD in some course that you've never heard before.
Yes.
Power to be able to migrate. If you look at how we migrate to other regions in Nigeria, right? That is actually a superpower. It means that an Igbo person can forego the discomfort of whether it's tribalism, whether it's a feeling of satisfaction, to be able to go to another community.
Yes.
You also see develop or make business. Yeah, you even see it in America as well.
Yes.
Any community you go to in America that is non-black, you must see an Igbo family in that neighborhood. My family is one of those people, right?
Yes.
And when you're black, but only Igbo. Also, got to get in Africa, nigga this, nigga that. Even if that's cool. Now, where no you're black or no. Your dad will say, I'm buying this house in this neighborhood because I want you to go to that school.
Wow.
That is something that is distinctively Igbo. And you see it and whenever you see a family that has tapped into this, you see it in the way they raise their children. That pride. And then if you think I love Igbo, you see my cousins who didn't even spend as much time as I do in Nigeria, how Igbo they feel. Trauma is very common. My cousins have those names that I told Igbo man gave good name, right? That pride comes from seeing your parents come and thrive. When they go to Nigeria, they're able to replicate it. When they go to even hostile societies, they're able to replicate it.
Yes.
And see that pride, and when you hone that pride, you are able to apply those things that in the before you do. I think it's surprised that people are able to excel even in situations they're not supposed to excel. I mean, look at what we did after the war. It's damn near a miracle.
Yes.
That we are today. So.
Thank you. You mentioned war, so I think that would be a cue. Because I would nga hapo ge ki wada aka ge na laptop onwe gi. So nke obu na eje nsolu gi nazu.
We are Pine Leaf Estate and Properties. Prudence, integrity, notable, excellent, loyal, enriching, active, and formidable.
So you mentioned war, and talking about the war, we're talking about the Civil War, the Biafran War, and everything. Choma, what comes to your mind each time you know the word Biafra? Go ahead.
The feelings have changed over time. Before, it used to be reverence for the war itself, 1967 to 1970. Remembrance of Kwashiorkor children, the possible trauma that would have come out from that. But in recent years, it has become a name that now in my heart and in my experience stands for Nkewa Nantuka Ndigo. Okay? Because that war happened. Some of our parents lived through the war. Some of our grandparents lived through the war. So we bear those stories and we hold them dear.
Yes.
I think it's not Osama me and Osama. The states not so doemina. But in recent times, that word Biafra has become the very thing that if it was just our Achilles heel, it would have been enough. But it has become the very thing with the one now because of this word Biafra. So I think it has become so divisive and it has become such a word that it's just mentioning it fragments the conversation. It changes. There's something that happens. It's like a visceral reaction when you hear that Biafra. I'm not necessarily like that. As somebody who grew up in the US, I know war memorials are very important. So like Memorial Day in America is literally just, or Veterans Day. Veterans Day just exists for you to mourn the America. The same thing with Memorial Days, and that's what Biafra represented for a very long time. For people like my mother who lived it, Biafra leaves a bitter taste in her mouth. And then there are the other people who speak with it with pride. But for me, today, and for the past couple of years, Biafra has become that thing that Asimuko, I got one no Biafra, because it is through having that conversation that the question he and the question based on it. And that conversation is long overdue. And if we don't have it, I shudder to think what is going to happen to the next generation of people who are going to be answering this question in just a drum of what Biafra represents for them.
Dalu. Ito, you heard about the Biafran War. Some of our parents saw it. Even though our grandparents, they told us the story. Some told us from the angle of Ojukwu, some told us from the angle of Nigeria. You now, as an adult, what do you think about that war of 1967? Do you think it was needless, as some people put it, or do you think it was the hope for survival?
I think it was both. Two things can be true at the same time. That's the duality of life, right? It was unnecessary, but it also felt like hope for people. It took time for Ndi Nozina Diaga to realize that Uzadria, but and we cannot fault them for believing in that hope. The challenge here is that, in retrospect, we can say, but at that time, it felt dire. It felt like something they needed to do. So we can cut them some slack in that. Maybe if they know what we know now about warfare and, are able to kind of look at things objectively. We have to also understand that before Biafra succeeded on Eastern Nigeria, Eastern Nigeria actually succeeded.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
We're in a triangle, basically. The north, the west, the western region, and the eastern region.
Niger Delta even.
And,
Adaka.
yes. And then, India also wanted to also succeed, but they were able to come to a conversation and they pulled back. So, us Igbo, now by Igbo now I also mean the other non-southeast areas that constituted the eastern region at the time. But there were also non-Igbos who were also part of eastern region. So Biafra means different things to different people. So depending on the conversation that we're having, we can admit that war was needless. If we really think about the innocent children that died, it wasn't worth it, right? We haven't studied what kwashiorkor, mineral deficiency and protein deficiency, did to the genetics of the people who survived it, right? And if it was America, for example, there would have been a study to study all of those children who survived. And also we haven't really had that kind of conversation because Biafra is an emotional thing. And every Igbo person has a way that they think about it. For them, it's personal. For all of us, it's personal, but the degree of how personal it is what the issue is. There are people who say that it was the only hope that Igbo people had, and I disagree. I think that Biafra was a disruption of our history. We have to think about the context here. Nigeria was still a baby. If you have a 6-year-old, imagine your 6-year-old. Nigeria was literally 6 years old after independence. So we're not counting the 1914. We're counting from 1960. Okay. And at this point, there was true federalism. There was all these regional governments, resource control and all of that stuff. But we have to think about what that 3 years did to interrupt our progress. And we can look at it from the Nigerian side of how Nigeria played it, but Nigeria was fighting a war, and that war was to keep Nigeria together, and it was going to fight against any secessionists. And it was only the eastern region that took that bait of fighting for the war. Now, for the people who feel like, it was the last hope, I think the focus is of the potential. When you think about if Biafra had worked, right, what the potential would have been. Right, and it's a fair guess of what would have happened.
Yes.
But we also know that no region at that point has had any experience sustaining anything for a long time. So, and remember that the Biafra of 1967 included people who were non-Igbo. So a lot of the divisive feelings that people feel today in Nigeria, they're telling that those other tribes within Eastern Nigeria who would have felt forced into it would have felt that it was a hopeful or if it was a good thing for them, right? So now, the only thing we can do is look at what the facts say, look at what the books say, look at what the historians say, and then look at if something like that repeated itself today, would we be better off? or we would be worse off. And to be honest with you, I don't think that we would have been better off. I think that the Igbo ingenuity thrives on diversity. The reason why Ijenan be choi mepe shop, is that because only Igbo, Igbo na say I go to a glimmer. And when people think about that adage, I don't think they think about what that really means. In my view, I think that what that means speaks to this egalitarian nature of Igbo about. And the mom is too far from where I am. I'm going to climb the highest iroko tree. And I'm going to leave that mom. But that iroko tree doesn't give me the vantage point to see it. I'll go and mold my own mom where it's going to be close to me. And that's how we do in business. My opportunities are there, Lagos. You make it.
I know if we be killing mom.
And if that mom refuses to move so that he can clear, and now you have proximity to it and you're able to control it and you're able to view it at your leisure. So if we look at it from that perspective, Ndi will thrive on the diversity that exists. That's why
yes.
There's no, if you look at the population of other tribes in our region, the Southeast is one of the most homogeneous in all of the regions. And where any other tribe known as Southeast. And the tribe they're not sending the best of their best or their richest people because anyone
yes.
You gotta make your business there and still thrive. So for me, I think that if we had succeeded in 1967, of course, we'll be different people now. But there's really, because when we look at the history of succession in Africa, including Eritrea, including South Sudan, those two countries have not really fared well after succeeding. So we can postulate and we can guess what could have happened. But I know that diversity of Nigeria is one of the advantages that Igbo people have tapped into. And I wish that we could tap into it more because honestly, man, the Igbo man is unstoppable when he realizes potential.
Dalo. Let's help you create some magic. Let's help you capture your best moments. Let's help you relive your memories. Book us now at Yarn Content Factory. Let's give your events and video production the perfect touch.